views expressed by J. Michael McCoy are the views of the hosts and guests of Max World Live, and not necessarily the views of Webcast One Live, its staff, its management, the cleaning crew, Dave the electric guy, the guy who cleans the skywalk, the woman who brought in the cookies, the management staff of Hubble Real Estate, the parking lot attendant at Keck Parking, the wait staff over at Miss Kitty's, the coffee crew at Frederick's, the man in the street corner willing to work for food, Rob Spearman, Max Crabb, or anyone else of sound mind. Should you be offended, provoked, intimidated, shocked, confused, or just made to think independently, log on to MaxWorldLive.com right now. It's your voice we want to hear in Max World. And now, live from the palatial studios of Webcast One Live, your host, J. Michael McCoy.
All right, welcome 3 minutes after the hour on this 11th day of the 11th month of the 14th year of our good Lord in the 21st century. It's Veterans Day today, so if you're listening to this live, we thank you for taking the time to listen. We hope that you have done something to salute your veterans, and if you've not done anything, you just did, because you partook in our salute of the veterans. And it's also, the Marines are like 200, they're older than you, Tom. They're like 232 years old or something.
That's possible.
229, I think it is.
229, yeah. So thank you for all the Marines and the boys and girls and ladies and men and fathers and mothers and sons and daughters who have fought for this country. And for those of you listening in heaven, I'm sorry that some of you think you lost your life in vain because of the current administration and the shame that they're bringing to our Army and our Navy and our Air Force and our Marines. But as one voter and one voice, I promise you that we will not let up until this corrupt Islamic administration is kicked out and shown what they're really about. And yes, the opinions of this show are mine and mine only, not those of Kevin, Tom, or Doug. Maybe Ryan, I'm not sure. All right, good guest panel today. Kevin Hall from the IowaRepublican.com. And the other thing that I like that you're doing, is it every Tuesday?
Every Tuesday morning, yes.
Every Tuesday, you're joining Lou and the folks out there at KCWI, 720?
Yep, they're right around there, 7:20, 7:30.
In the morning, talking politics, and you do a great job.
Thank you.
And it's nice to see that fresh, young face. You
I
know?
I don't know about young, but...
Well, you know, when the greatest pundit from the Republican Party in the state of Iowa is still living. In fact, we have him in studio today. How you doing, Doug?
Oh, my God, I had a heart attack after you said that.
No, you're looking at two different generations here. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I'm the younger generation, yeah.
Yeah, both of you very involved. You, of course, were at the one heartbeat away from the governor for many years as the chief of staff of Governor Branstad. And I know you know this, and I don't mean to embarrass you, but you know, you are the cool guy in the Republican Party. You are the to-go guy when somebody wants to know something.
I don't know about. I've never been accused of being cool about anything.
Really?
No, I've never.
Your daughters or your son
no,
or
they
your
think
wife?
they think I'm a nerd.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I'm a nerd too, and then maybe you're just a cool nerd. How about
cool.
that?
Okay, I'll take that.
Well, Doug
Thank
does
you,
the insiders regularly. He ran for governor against Vilsack back in 2000. I mean, he's got the pedigree also, and I think you're right to categorize them as different generational insiders. I think they're both insiders. And I think that the fact that Doug has been an insider for a long time and Kevin is a rising star, I think, in the Republican ranks, I think is properly characterized.
We like this, don't we, Kevin?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Just keep piling it on, guys.
Now, the difference is, do you have, and I'm not trying to out you, but do you have any desire to ever run for office?
No.
Okay, so you'll always be the pundit behind the microphone or the camera.
I would, and I've worked on campaigns, and I don't really want to work on campaigns behind the scenes anymore either. I like talking about it.
Yeah.
And that's enough. But
Well, and
running
you
for
do a
office,
good
no.
job of that.
Thank you.
There's a lot of people out there who don't do a good job of that. You know, they just run their mouth, and it's obvious they're biased, and they're being either paid for or something by that side or the other side. And, you know, I'm not saying you can't be bought, but it'd be pretty darn expensive, I would imagine.
It would be.
Okay.
And I am biased, but I admit that up front.
Yeah, there you go. You're a conservative Christian Republican.
Exactly.
Okay, so here's what I'd like to do today, and I appreciate you both being here. I almost want the two of you to talk and find out if there's difference in your perspectives on the different elections that we not only had here in the state of Iowa, but that we had across the country. And let's start with the easy one, Branstad. nobody thought he was going to lose except Jack Hatch, or maybe even Jack Hatch.
I don't
knew
think
it.
Jack did either.
No.
No.
I think when Tyler Olson dropped out of that race, the race ended that day, and that was about 11 months ago because he was going through a divorce, and he had made his young family a big part of that. It would have been a different race. I think Doug would agree if Tyler Olson was in it. You know, Jack Hatch tried to do this whole fresh start, tried to make that the mantra of his campaign. Well, if you look at him, he looks older than Governor Branstad does, so it's hard to buy into a
I
fresh
always said
start.
people weren't going to trade one gray mustache for another.
Exactly.
I mean, it never made any sense to me. So
Yeah.
the whole basis of his campaign made no sense.
Yeah.
And,
But he shaved his mustache.
yeah, that's true. Okay, thank you.
I mean, you got to admit that was a good
know-
move on his part.
I don't know. I thought he looked worse without it. I thought he looked better with it.
Well,
I thought he looked chubbier without his mustache. Didn't you think?
Let me say this about Jack Hatch. Now, Jack had two problems, guys, and we know this. One, most of the state of Iowa didn't know who he was, and two, many of those people that did know him didn't care that much for him and his candidacy.
Well,
So-
he's probably the most liberal member of the Iowa legislature. And why in the world the Democrats would nominate the most liberal, taxing, spending, the whole bit, guy in the Iowa legislature is beyond me. And it sort of looked like he kind of gave up on the campaign. I mean, when you're running for governor and you don't run any ads in good share of September and October, and you're competitive, I mean, you gave up.
Well, he had made the statement back in May of last year that he needed to run it. He needed to raise at least $1 million by the end of 2013 to be considered viable. He didn't raise that until toward the end of the entire campaign. I mean, he never was a viable candidate, and the Democrats were not excited about him either.
No.
They were excited about Tyler Olson, and Branstad still would have beaten Tyler Olson, but it would have been a different campaign.
I agree with Kevin on that. I think if Tyler Olson would have been able to stay in, it had been young versus old, new direction versus existing direction. I think Branstad would have won, probably won from 10 to 15 points, I bet, in the end. But Tyler would have made it a race. He's from eastern Iowa, not excessively liberal, comes from a business family, had the right kind of pedigree to run that race. It had been a very interesting race.
Yep.
Now, okay, so let's look behind the curtain at Jack Hatch for a minute, because Jack's no fool, and
Well, he took $1,000 and turned it into $74 million. I don't think he's a fool at all.
No.
well, and I've known Jack for a long time, and
So
I want
have I.
to I want to release that. I like Jack Hatch. What other ulterior motive could there have been for Jack if he knew there was no way he was going to win this race? Is it statewide exposure for something down the line?
When you get in, you always think that lightning's going to strike and this is your time. So he thought he was going to win when he got in.
Yeah, I think so too.
And once you're in, you're in. And but I think Jack was sort of up or out, and at that point in his life, what is he? 64 years old. He continues to do development on the public dime in large part, which again I thought was an odd kind of a profile to nominate for governor. But I don't mind Jack either personally. He's actually kind of fun to talk to, man.
Yeah.
But he's liberal as the day is long, and he's totally built his business on the public's dime.
Yep.
And for us to make him governor because of that was always it was incredible to me.
Do you guys want to look ahead 4 years from now, where most people assume that Terry Branstad will not run for re-election? We presume that his lieutenant governor, who's been shadowing him from day one, has picked up the pace and perhaps is more ready to step in. And I still suspect that Tom Vilsack might come back and take another run at that. I don't think he was ready to against Branstad, but against a lesser viewed opponent, I would think that he might be an option. What do you guys think about my speculation on that?
I think Kim Reynolds will give it strong consideration. I don't know if she'll decide to get in the race, but the governor has been kind of grooming her over the last 4 years for that, and I think she has improved. I worked on the Branstad 2010 campaign, and Southwest Iowa was my territory, so I got to know Kim Reynolds before she was picked as the running mate, and she was a little bit uncomfortable and nervous speaking to crowds when she first got on there, and liked to use a script to read off of. But now she's very calm, very natural. She doesn't need a script. She can go up there and ad lib and deliver a substantive speech with a lot of passion and energy.
But she doesn't look tough. She looks like Ariel.
You know, the
from
interesting
Frozen. Is that was that her name?
Ariel? No, that was a different.
No,
Disney
Ariel
movie.
would be
Yeah.
You
Little
got two
Mermaid.
different. You got
She
two
looked
different.
like the
Yeah,
Little
Little
Mermaid
Mermaid.
Two
gal.
different Disney movies conflicted.
I think Max frozen on that one. The brain was frozen.
What are your thoughts on Kim? What do you?
I've always been a friend of Kim's and a promoter of hers since she started her career. I like Kim a lot as a person, and she makes a nice presentation. It still remains to be seen whether or not she can be governor, because you have to have a certain level of chutzpah that's in you that tells you, yeah, you can do that job. And it'll remain to be seen whether or not she has that level of chutzpah. That's number one. Number two is she's got to develop her own organization and her own following. She can't just be in the shadow of another guy, particularly a guy who's got as long a shadow as Terry Branstad has. She has to have her own team. And so far, she hasn't developed that. So I think, come the first of the year, she has to start developing her own.
Well,
agenda.
and I like her, don't get me wrong, but other than being Terry Branstad's shadow, and I don't mean that disrespectfully, what's her legacy as lieutenant governor?
Well, that's exactly the point. She has to develop her own program, her own people, her own agenda. And politics is all about the future. It's not about the past. So I think people will go to her and look for her to do some things. So she's got to step up right now. I think we'll know in the next year whether or not she's got it in her to do this. But that being said, I don't think Tom Vilsack will run again for governor.
No, I don't either.
Tom Vilsack thinks he's now a man of the world. I mean, Iowa's a small potatoes for him.
The Vilsacks are creatures of Washington, D.C. now.
Okay, you don't think they'll?
I don't do it, but I think you have lots of people want to run, particularly on the Republican side. I think more than Kim will want to run.
Yeah, we're going to have a crowded field
Yeah.
on the
like
Republicans.
who else?
Oh, there's all kinds of folks. Talk about a rising star in the party. Jack Whitver is a rising star.
he's a good guy.
in this party. In fact, Jack was going to run for Congress in the 3rd District, and I think he might have won that race. But
Stork got in the way.
yes, exactly. He found out his wife was pregnant literally a day or two before he was going to announce his intentions.
He would have won.
I think he would have.
I do too. Jack's very capable guy.
If not won it outright, surpassing 35%, I think Jack would have won it at the convention. But we have lots
I
of
can
folks.
name a bunch of them, Mac. I
Yeah.
mean, you're going to have Bill Northey. I mean, let's not
Yes.
forget, Bill Northey, on 2 consecutive elections where he's been on the ballot, he's won the most votes of any Republican office holder. He gets more votes than Branstad does.
Very popular.
So Bill Northey, I could see him do it.
Absolutely.
Ron Corbett's the mayor of Cedar Rapids. He was Speaker of the House at one time. I could see Ron do it. He's a very strong leader, very strong personality. Jeff Kaufman had a great 6 months as party chair.
Yes, he did.
There could be a future for Jeff in statewide politics. Craig Paulson's a very strong Speaker of the House, just engineered more wins there. He's being talked about. I've heard Peter County's name being mentioned as someone who could potentially be interested in something like that. Bob Vanderplatz has run a few times before. Why wouldn't he want to run again? And I could go on and on. There's a lot of folks who potentially
Rod
would run for
Roberts
governor.
might consider it as
Yeah.
well.
Okay, now you did not mention any of the failed 3rd District candidates. You didn't mention Matt Whitaker. You didn't mention Sam Clovis. And you didn't mention, who's the other person?
Clovis ran for Senate, not for 3rd District.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
And
you
ran for
would-
treasurer after that.
But you were running through the Senate.
Okay, I'm
big
Third
sorry.
District would be what?
Brad Zahn.
It's on-
And
Matt
Matt
Schultz.
Schultz, the guy at the renewable fuels, Monty Shaw.
Monty Shaw,
Monty Shaw.
David Young.
Yeah, well,
So,
David won.
but you don't think
I don't see any of those running
Any
for
of
governor
those?
because
Okay.
I mean, if you've lost a primary and then a convention for Congress, it doesn't exactly say that you're eligible to run
Well,
for
shouldn't
governor.
that preclude Bob Vanderplatz from any thought about throwing his hat once again into the ring?
Bob's kind of in his own world, though. So Bob will define that on his own.
Never,
he
never
will.
underestimate Bob
will.
Vanderplatz's
Because Bob
lust
has-
for power.
Bob has not only that, but Bob also
I
has
don't.
his own following. He has his own following, so I could see Bob want to run again. Although, frankly, I doubt it. I think Bob too has kind of moved on with his life, but we'll see.
I think he likes being the kingmaker
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
and he's kind of settled into
Yeah,
that.
everybody's got to go through him.
Particularly for the presidential caucuses, Bob sort of made an enterprise out of that.
Yes.
So he's
Well,
done well with that.
and by far the most plugged in and the most well funded would be Peter County. I mean, I don't think Peter's made any enemies.
Peter's not the nicest guy you'll find in the world.
You've got a couple generations of legacy here in our community. You got a good guy there.
He's a really good guy, and he could raise a lot of money.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of good candidates in that list.
I agree. I think it's a very deep bench. Just like if you look at the GOP presidential field, to get off topic for a second, for 2016, we have a very deep bench there.
That's where I want to go when we come back.
All right.
Because nobody realizes it, but we're just a few months away from these guys and gals coming to Iowa. Stay
And they've
around
already
the
been
corner.
here.
Yeah.
Here on the Truth Network, 99.3.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
See him here, see him there. You got bad credit? We don't care.
Visit emetroford.com for your guaranteed credit approval. Good credit, bad credit, no credit. Everybody drives with guaranteed credit approval at emetroford.com. Visit emetroford.com today.
Get away from us, you mean old credit card. We don't have any more money. We're in trouble now. Save us! Help! Somebody save us! Somebody help! Help! Save us!
Hi, I'm Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of Des Moines. If your credit card's a little too animated, give us a call.
Hooray! We're saved! Consumer Credit! You're our hero!
Hey, psst. Let me let you in on a little secret. You ready? Always try to do business with people, not places. Especially if you seek honest Christian business people. And when it comes to my car, I really need to trust who's working on it. Now, my family is so blessed. A few years ago, we found a family-owned automobile repair shop that operates as a Christian business also. Open, honest, reliable, trustworthy. It's AMCO on Hickman Road in front of Kmart. And it's a family-owned Christian operating business. This family treats your car as if it was their car. Everything from oil changes to transmission repair and everything in between. So the next time you feel the need to be at peace with your choice of who you can trust with your car, give AMCO on Hickman a chance to serve you. And tell them Max sent you.
If Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of America was your personal webmaster, Tom would filter out all bad debt emails. If Tom was your mailman, you'd never get any debt reduction junk mail. If Tom Coates was a lineman, he'd block any phone calls offering to reduce your credit card debt.
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America, and we're still your best choice for credit counseling. We're local, we're accountable, and we can do more. You make the call when the time's right for you.
When it comes to competition, there really is none for Consumer Credit of America.
Welcome back. 21 minutes after the hour on this Veterans Day 2014. And if you serve this country in any capacity, including being that stay-at-home wife, that spouse who stayed back here and took care of the babies and changed the diapers while your husband or wife was off fighting in this battle, you too deserve all the credit in the world, because there's nothing more important to a soldier than his family and their love and their support. So happy Veterans Day to you too, Mom. Thanks for supporting not only your spouse, but this country. Doug Gross is my guest, former chief of staff from Governor Branstad from many years ago, and one of the go-to guys in the Republican Party in the state of Iowa. And maybe I'm limiting that. Are you a go-to guy nationwide?
No.
Just Iowa.
I'm not even go-to guy in my own family. What are you talking about?
And we have the fresh face, Kevin Hall from the IowaRepublican.com. I don't read a lot of the political blogs, but I do like yours.
Thank you.
And I like Shane's. You and Shane just do a really good job.
Thank you.
Caffeinated Thoughts, which is Shane Vanderhertz. And we were talking a little bit ago about possible gubernatorial candidates for 2018. Anybody think Branstad might do it again?
No.
I don't.
Okay.
I mean, I actually think, and this may be off the It's a wild thought, but I could see a situation where if we were elected a Republican president in 2016, he could end up being a cabinet secretary. And that would make things interesting because then Kim would become the governor.
We talked about
and
that
puts
before.
Her in a different position.
Finding a way to step down early and make her the incumbent and show her loyalty has not been misplaced and give her an opportunity. Of course, it would take the opportunity away from people, like you said, like Bill Northey and what have you, because they wouldn't challenge an incumbent, but it would make it much more difficult for a Democratic challenger to come in and take her out.
Okay, but Tom, isn't that what the liberals complain about us of cronyism? Isn't that the exact example of that? Setting somebody up, your buddy, to get in there and not have to face the waves of the population?
I think it would hurt both Kim and the governor and the Republican Party if the governor simply resigned so she could be the governor, so could be the incumbent.
Without a good reason.
But if he had a legitimate offer to be a cabinet secretary, an important post, I think it would work for him and her and the state.
Or a health issue, something that would cause him. Well, I don't want it. No, I don't want that. But I mean, if he had a legitimate health concern, he's not getting any younger. But and the rigor. I mean, he has been hitting it hard, guys.
Yeah, but he's the kind of guy that because he's governor, he's in better shape. I mean, he just loves it.
I know, but that's a rigorous schedule.
I know, but he loves it. Man.
All right, put your headphones on, gentlemen. We've got. Do you only have one set there?
Yeah,
you need it, Tom.
All right. Well,
it'd be Frank, and I probably.
We've got Frank.
Yeah. I can probably guess what Frank's going to say.
Frank, what question do you have for our guests?
Doug, I voted for you. I believe it was 2002 you ran for governor?
I'm surprised you can remember that far back.
Well, I was actually out in California at the time when they was recalling Gray Davis, and I got an absentee ballot out there just in time to get it back in time to get you voted for.
Well, thank you, Frank. You were the only one.
Well, listen.
I think your law partner voted for you. I think CJ did, too. I think my wife did, too, at the time.
There's three wings in the Republican Party. You have your conservative wing, your establishment wing, and then your Rand Paul libertarian wing, and they all seem to play pretty well together this round.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they absolutely did. It was remarkable.
Chris Christie was out there hoofing it for the Governors Association and, got some governors elected in the blue states, the bluest of blue states. What's the idea that you think they'll work together next go around, or is there going to be a real divide show up in 16?
I think what united all those by the way, Frank, that was well said, because I think that is what we face.
Yeah.
And I do also think that one of the reasons why Republicans were successful this time is those factions all work together in a remarkable way. Well, usually two things unite people. It's either fear or opportunity. And in this case, it was fear, because they are so concerned about the direction of the country and the direction of the Obama administration that they came together because they wanted to do something about it. And I salute all of them for that. Now the next question really will be the presidential race of 2016, and will the opportunity to elect a Republican be enough to keep them together? I don't have an answer to that question, particularly when you go through what's likely to be a multi-candidate caucus and primary season. It'll be very easy for those factions to be rubbed raw again.
All right,
so that's the risk we face.
Chris Christie, who else? Republicans.
Oh, my gosh, we got a whole slew of them.
Scott Walker, Ted Cruz, Rand Paul, Paul Ryan. I mean, you could go on and on. Ben
Rick
Carson,
Perry, I think, is going to be heard from.
Rick Perry, be interesting to see what happens with his indictment, but
might be an advantage for him.
Yeah,
it's seen as even by the liberals as unfair.
If he's able to overcome that, he's definitely going to run.
Jeb Bush wants to run.
Yes.
Jeb Bush, Marco Rubio,
Huckabee,
Santorum,
absolutely.
Oh, good heavens!
Yeah, I mean, it goes on.
Bobby Jindal.
Jindal has already been here a few times.
Rob Portman out of Ohio. I've heard about John Kasich out of Ohio. I've had a couple of
big
calls.
victory there the other night.
Carly Fiorina, I think, is looking at it.
She's
seriously.
trying to promote herself.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now
what about Susan Martinez out of New Mexico?
Yep.
Another rising star on the, and not a kind of a twofer,
right?
A Latina and a woman,
right?
What about Jeb Bush? Is there too much baggage for that name amongst the 40-year-olds who lived through George W. Bush for 8 years and think he's just a schmuck?
Well, there's both pluses and minuses. Obviously, the Bush name is a famous name in the Republican Party, and frankly, for a lot of people, George W. doesn't look so bad after 8 years of Obama.
Oh, I agree.
Amen.
Okay, so that's a plus. Obviously, the negative is the country want to keep going back to Bush and Clinton, Bush and Clinton. That's the issue. But as George W. said, I heard on a radio show just the other day, you may not like Bush or Clinton and Bush, but would you like Bush and Clinton? The answer is no. You'd rather have Bush end up there. And Jeb Bush is totally different than his brother. He's not like his brother at all. He's very policy-oriented. Did a heck of a job as governor of Florida. He's quite conservative. So it'd be really interesting.
Is he more? I've always heard he's more conservative than W. Do you agree with that?
I think he would govern more conservatively. I don't think one of my concerns with W was particularly on some of the economic issues. He wasn't very conservative.
No,
Yeah,
not at all.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
As of concerning. But so I think Jeb Bush could very much be a legitimate candidate for us. Now, whether he wants to run or will do it remains to be seen.
I think Jeb's problem is twofold. He is, one, the Bush name, and two, Doug's right, he's not like his brother, and I think where he's lacking what W had was that personal appeal to people. W, he had that swagger about him and a lot of charisma, and the times I've seen Jeb Bush giving speeches on television and whatnot, very dry.
Yeah. He's more of a policy wonk.
Yes.
He really
not
is.
a lot of energy, and I just don't know if that's going to appeal to, say, your average Iowa caucus goer.
It apparently appealed to Florida voters.
What I think he's got going for him, though, is I think people, after 8 years of Obama, want things to work.
Okay.
They want government to be limited, but they want it to work. I mean, they also want us to be respected internationally again. And I think they would feel that Jeb Bush would be able to do those kind of things. Now, there are going to be a lot of other very attractive candidates, too.
Yeah.
Is Huckabee too far right?
No.
No?
No.
Huckabee, he's a social conservative. If you look at his fiscal record when he was governor of Arkansas, he wasn't very conservative at all.
No, he raised taxes.
He raised taxes a lot, which is funny. The people that attacked Governor Branstad for raising taxes were supporters of Huckabee, a lot of them, and Huckabee's record in terms of raising taxes is a lot worse than Governor Branstad ever did.
Interesting, because
But Huckabee,
they would have assumed he would have been conservative right down the line because he was a social conservative.
No.
You look at
but
his
they
fiscal
would have
record.
miscalculated because you're saying his record as governor.
You look at
He's
his
very,
record, he
Huckabee
raised
is
taxes
a
lot.
blue-collar Republican type, and it could appeal to blue-collar Republicans in addition, I think, to social conservatives. And he also has a really good personality that people found very attractive and appealing.
Very likable.
And see, he quit his radio program.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
I think he wants to run.
And you cannot, the FCC's not going to let you be on the radio every day and run for the President of the United States.
What I usually watch is, the size of his belt. And I figure if it's shrinking, he's probably going to run. If it's not, he probably won't run.
See, that's what I think about Chris Christie.
Well, that's true, and that's shrunk. And he's definitely going to run.
Yeah.
Chris Christie
I
is
think
running.
so, too.
Okay.
I think so, too.
Doug Gross is our guest, along with Kevin Hall. Doug, the former chief of staff of Branstad and insider in the state of Iowa for the conservative movement. And Kevin Hall's got the blog, theiowarepublican.com. Who's on the Democratic side?
For president?
Yeah.
Well, you got Hillary, and then her. The irony of this is that it used to be the Democrats were the party that had all these scrums, and they were fighting each other and had these big primaries. It's flipped, where we have the big primaries and have the scrums, and they try to anoint their candidate. And that's a mistake for the Democrats.
I agree.
We have much more energy that's generated by having a lot of candidates, and that's what we did at the state level, congressional level, and it really helped us a lot. I think Hillary will likely be the only candidate for the Democrats.
Really?
Yeah, because the Clinton machine is, frankly, there's hell to pay if you want to cross them. And so they're all very sensitive. Now, do I think that's smart for the Democrats? No. Do I think there's an opportunity for a Democrat? Yes. Because the Democratic Party in Iowa has a strong streak of rural populism. I mean, Tom Harkin rode that his whole career on rural populism. Well, do you think Hillary Clinton is a rural populist?
No.
By no
Wouldn't
means.
Elizabeth Warren be the one to step in
Yeah.
and probably challenge her and not care if she runs afoul of the Clinton machine
I don't
because
think
she's
so.
more
But I don't think
part
she's
of the
gonna do it.
Obama?
She's given no indication that
She should. I
wants
think
to run
if she
against
wants
Hillary.
to.
You
if
don't
she-
think she will?
No, I don't think she
I don't
will.
think she will either. I
Okay.
don't think Hillary Clinton will have an opponent.
The liberals want her to. There might be some token opposition. Martin O'Malley.
I don't even think he'll
from
run
Maryland.
at the end of the day. I think if I were a Democrat, wanted to be president, I'd definitely come to Iowa and run the caucuses against Hillary, because somebody's going to do surprisingly well if they were to do that. If they're a
Like
legitimate
Barack
candidate.
Obama did.
Yeah, they'll do well, but I don't think I think the Clinton machine will be successful in locking everybody
Is
out.
there any chance she won't want to do it for other reasons?
Who, Hillary?
Yeah.
My God, it looks like she's consumed by ambition. I can't imagine she won't.
She didn't appear that she had any coattails. I mean, the results a week ago didn't indicate that she had any particular coattails or power in that election.
No,
there's been questions about her
didn't
health.
help anybody that she
her
campaigned
age is. I mean, an aging woman has a tougher row to hoe, I think, than an aging man, especially one that's starting to look those years. I just wonder if she won't surprise and maybe not run at the end.
Oh, I think she'll definitely run. I mean, they're consumed by ambition. The Clintons are. And the trouble for Hillary, and she found this out last time she ran, she's just not her husband. I mean, her husband, you may disagree with everything he says, but boy, you like the way he says it.
Yeah. What about, we got almost enough time. The Clinton machine.
Yeah.
Why wasn't the Clinton machine able to stop Barack Obama?
Well, that's a great question, Mac. I hadn't really thought of that. But the reason why first of all, they had a candidate who didn't perform as well as Barack Obama did.
Okay.
And Barack Obama tapped the imagination of the Democrats. Here they were going to nominate the first black president. This is something they wanted to do. And so they tapped that sort of sense of new thing. And she was the old thing. And she's not a good retail politician. She doesn't really like doing that kind of stuff, and it shows.
Obama was a one-of-a-kind force of nature.
Yeah.
Barack Obama in 2007.
Yeah.
Amazing charisma, amazing speeches, all this rhetoric, which we found out later was empty. But he was able to appeal to young people, appeal to a wide swath of Americans who wanted change and wanted hope. From the last few years of the Bush administration, which were not good. I think everybody would agree with that. But he was just a one-of-a-kind candidate. And Doug's exactly right. Hillary's a terrible retail politician. She cannot connect one-on-one with a voter or even talking to a group.
Do you agree with my assessment that her age, especially given her position, is going to weigh against her? It would have been much better 8 years previous than if she'd be banging on the 70-year-old door here.
It could. But, I don't think...
I don't think it'll have any impact.
Okay.
I think for some reason our country doesn't seem to be concerned about the age of these candidates at all.
I don't think so. I think she'll get the nomination.
I mean,
regardless.
Maggie Thatcher wasn't exactly young, and she did okay.
Well, she was exceptional. Maggie Thatcher, not Hillary Clinton.
That's true.
We'll talk a little bit more about the presidential race. I also want to slip back into the two races that were successful for the Republicans, that of Joni Ernst and David Young. That's next here on the Truth Network, 99.3.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner of Service Legends, and my position is Chief Talent Officer.
I'm Nicholas Wonderscheid.
I am Bernie Hobbs.
And I'm the Service Manager.
Marketing Director and Client Relations Manager.
Everything that we do is about ensuring that we exceed your expectations.
Our clients are important to us. 100% satisfaction.
We're not just focused on heating and cooling. That's the easiest part of our job, actually, is fixing furnaces and air conditioners.
Everyone that we come in touch with, we want to improve lives.
Bottom line is, we've got our installation guarantees, 25% energy savings guarantee, comfort guarantee, temperature selection guarantee, property protection guarantee.
100% satisfaction guaranteed, fixed rate or it's free.
All of those guarantees are backed up with a 100% money-back guarantee to hold ourselves accountable to making sure that you get what you're after.
Just fixing the problem today. If they have another problem 5 days down the road, it's still fixed rate or it's free.
We use what's called straightforward pricing. Our technicians are going to give you an exact to-the-penny price on what it's going to take before they move forward with any repair. That way you know what to expect.
It's the same price every day.
No surprises.
If you get off work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you come home, you realize that, oh, my furnace is broken. Now you need to call somebody out that night. You shouldn't have to pay more for that.
We're guaranteeing service 24/7.
We run afternoons, evenings, nights, weekends. We're staffed to work that.
Phone rings at 3 in the morning. You'll get one of our representatives answering the phone every time.
We're not sending you out to Timbuktu in some call center. It's our Service Legend team members, our mission control team.
I'll take a call anytime.
And then they answer the phones the same way during the day as they do at night.
It's a great day at your service company. How can we make you smile?
That's the only way to provide true 24-hour service.
When you're able to let somebody actually live in their home safely when they weren't able to do that before, where they don't have to stay up at night and worry about, is the heat going to come back on? Are we going to freeze the pipes? Is the baby in the room next door going to be sick because they got too cold? When you're able to help somebody overcome challenges like that, that's impacting a life. That makes a difference. I get goosebumps thinking about it.
I love the team. I love the people that I work with.
We have fun, but we work hard.
I call them my ambassadors of legendary service. If you could just envision what that is, that's who we're sending to your home.
They literally will call in, pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I want to talk to your manager. And I get on the phone, they're like, that technician that was at my house was the greatest technician ever. That's cool to me.
We want to brighten people's days.
Every person that we have going into the house has gone through an extensive background check.
Drug testing, we have a very thorough interview process that 1 out of 140 people make it through.
If we promise you something, that's what you're going to get, no matter what.
We're here when you need us to protect the safety and comfort of your family.
If you're not happy, we're gonna make it right.
If we're willing to put 100% money back guarantee on what we do, what type of work do you think we do?
Give us a call. We're there for you 24/7, 365 days a year.
Enough said.
Okay, 22 minutes before the top of the hour, Salem Radio Network News updating us on the latest in the news. And then 3 minutes after the hour, Pastor Michael Mudloff with Westkirk Presbyterian Church. My guest today, Kevin Hall from the IowaRepublican.com, and Doug Gross, former Chief of Staff of Governor Branstad and constant kingmaker here in the state of Iowa. Before we get back to the presidential race, because I do think I want to end there, talk about Young and Apple and Ernst and Braley. Any surprises from any? Who was surprised?
I wasn't.
Well, was Apple even surprised?
I think she thought she had a pretty good shot. I was surprised at the margin of victory for David Young, 10 points. I thought it was a lot closer than that. Yeah, I didn't think David Young ran a particularly strong campaign. Some of his TV commercials were just awful. Some of the worst political ads I've ever seen. Whereas Apple, I thought her commercials were very well and painted her as this moderate, independent thinker, which was totally ridiculous.
Correct.
Anybody who knows her record knows she's as liberal as it gets. But for Young to beat her by 10 points, that surprised me.
Okay, so why? Why did he beat her by 10 points?
Well, let's go back to the commercials for a second. I thought the ones that he did with Grassley and Tom Latham were some of the best ones that he did.
Yes.
And I thought that
Well, he didn't do those. The NRCC did
well,
those.
whoever did.
Yeah.
What happened was the NRCC basically stepped in and ran that campaign after September. Remember he went dark for a while?
Yes.
Because some of those Fred Davis commercials were just so doggone weird. It was just crazy.
Yeah.
So I thought the NRCC ran some decent ads for him and did okay. But David, I mean, Iowa politics generally rewards the tortoise and not the hare. David Young's a tortoise in Iowa politics. I mean, he's just steady as she goes. He's not flashy. He's very careful. He's a decent guy, friendly, knowledgeable, and he'll be congressman as long as he wants to be.
Yeah. I believe that, too. I thought his first debate performance was far superior to his second.
Yeah.
I agree. And those were some pretty dreadful debates.
Yeah, they really were. Nothing was great.
Oh my
but
God.
his first one was especially in comparison with her. Yeah. She sat down low. The visuals were bad. Yeah. She had no answers.
Yeah.
She
didn't know about terrorists. Yeah.
That was, to me, that was the key issue in that race.
I agree.
Dean Borg asked David Young, if you were in Congress right now and the topic was ISIS, what would you be urging right now? David Young said, I would revoke the passports of Americans who have gone over there and joined the terrorists. And he asked Stacey Apple the same question, and she says, well, I wouldn't be urging for the revoking of their passports.
And it was not an outlier. It was not a slip. It was consistent because
mindset.
The U.S. Senate Democrats were on the same page.
That's right.
So she was on the Democrat page. Then they said, oh, I made a mistake. I didn't mean that. No, you did, because that was a consistent Democrat policy.
And it just goes back to the liberal mindset, which is weak on national security.
And what I thought was interesting about the debates as an operative is that I thought David's commercials were probably the worst. And I thought Steve King's were probably the best.
Yes.
And they were done by the same guy.
Right.
Fred Davis.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you believe that? I still don't understand that. I know Fred Davis. He's out of Beverly Hills. He's really an interesting guy. He does Grassley's commercials. Remember the one where he was pulling the lawnmowers?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Fred Davis doing that commercial. So he obviously knows Iowa. I thought he captured King in a remarkable way.
Yeah, those were great
They
spots.
were really good spots.
You thought King was running for president.
I know, they were so good. But then you had, David just being, talking about eating, chicken
meal.
fingers, and we want a good meal or something. I don't know what the heck that was.
That was just a very odd, strange commercial.
All right, Joni and Bruce. It seems that this was Joni's to lose, because around every single corner, Bruce tripped.
I think it was Bruce's to lose, and he lost it.
Oh, really?
I think Braley had the advantage from the outset. I mean, they've been grooming this guy for years, Mac. I mean, he was supposed to be the heir apparent to Tom Harkin. He was the future of the Iowa Democratic Party, and he blew it. Now, Joni Ernst ran a fantastic campaign, and she has a great background, a great story, and a very disciplined campaign, which I credit to her military background. But Bruce Braley lost that campaign.
How big was the recording in the back room?
Devastating.
Okay.
I don't think. Yeah, I remember at the time, Mac. I saw that, and somebody gave it to me, and I said, "The race is over. I don't see how he can win."
Devastating.
Because when you think about it, here, you got a guy who, in a moment where he doesn't know he's on camera, so you're introducing him to Iowans for the first time, and most Iowans don't know who their congressman is, so nobody knew who Bruce Braley was, and he's standing next to a bunch of whiskey bottles with his stomach hanging out, saying farmers are pretty much dumb, and we all know that we're a descendant of farmers, and we are culturally that's where we come from. He insulted not Chuck Grassley, not just farmers. He insulted the entire state, the culture of the state, and then he wants to be our senator. He was done.
Yeah.
And then you add to that narrative, suing his neighbor over chickens, Kevin, which you guys, I think,
great.
did.
Yeah, we were the one that uncovered
And you got
that.
his towel problem where he's
Towel boy Braley. When the government shut down.
He just reinforced this narrative over and over of an arrogant guy out of touch with Iowa. He was not going to win.
Yeah.
How big of a deal was it that Michelle Obama couldn't get his name right?
Well, again, it just sort of furthered this narrative of a hapless campaign, a campaign out of control, messed up.
It just over and over, it was things like that. The final days, what was the story the day before the election? It was Tom Harkin making sexist comments comparing Joni Ernst to Taylor Swift, a pop star. I mean, just over and over,
But at the same time, I mean, so I agree with Kevin that Braley lost that race, but sometimes we overestimate him, too. I mean, he had a hard time winning in a congressional race against Ben Lang, who had no political experience just a few years before. And the other thing we should know is Joni really did run a great race. That was as disciplined, focused, and well-communicated race as I can remember.
She didn't put herself out there very far either.
Well, no, she was so disciplined.
The thing that I was worried about, guys, is I'd seen her debate early in the primary.
And she didn't do well
And
there.
she didn't do particularly well. I was scared to death that Braley, as a trial lawyer, would step in there and rip her up. And she just beat the crap out of it.
She did.
She won 2 of the 3 debates.
What the most important was the first one.
Yes,
that's what people had their impression.
KCCI, first one.
People were looking at saying, can she be our senator? And she outshone him, so clearly she could be our senator.
She was so good in that first debate because she looked directly into the camera. She looked good.
Yeah, looked great.
Yeah, and Braley, his eyes were wandering all over the place. He never looked directly into the camera, looking at the voter.
But let's also not forget there was a commercial in that race that had more impact than any commercial in my lifetime.
Castration.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've never seen anything quite like that.
She was in the middle of the pack in the primary.
Going nowhere.
A crowded primary.
Yeah.
She had gained no traction.
Right. For months.
That literally propelled her.
I've never seen quite like it.
Who did that spot?
Well, Polyansky deserves credit for conceiving it. I think it's a guy named Harris who actually produced it.
Wow.
Now,
yes, Todd Harris.
Now, you said that there's a good chance that David Young will be Senator Grassley's replacement as long as he wants to.
No, I said I think he'll be congressman as long as he wants to.
Latham's seat, he'll have that as long as he wants to.
Congressman. Okay, yes. I'm sorry, yes. This is why I'm not a kingmaker like you. See, I get this all wrong. Same with Ernst? Or is she going to have to fight again in a few years?
I think the key for Joni will be the next 2 years. I mean, she's a national star. So there'll be an inclination for her to go around the country, give speeches, and sort of be the darling of some of this stuff. Instead, she needs to be the workhorse and not the show horse. And if she is, she'll be senator as long as she wants to be in Iowa.
That's a good phrase. She needs to be the workhorse and not the show horse.
The model to follow, certainly not in terms of ideology, but Al Franken has been an excellent Minnesota senator. Not in terms of policy.
Take it easy.
But he went from
he
this
to his
comedian, this crazy Air America liberal radio host. You don't hear anything from him since he got elected to the U.S. Senate. He's very quiet. He just goes about his job, stays in Washington, D.C., stays under the radar. It doesn't behoove Joni Ernst to go out and be this national celebrity. She needs to, stick in Washington and, like Doug said, be the workhorse. Something else Doug mentioned earlier that I want to go back to that I think really hurt Bruce Braley. It helped Joni Ernst to go through all those debates and forums in the primary. Braley didn't have to go through any of that. And so the first debate, he was totally unprepared, whereas here's this career trial lawyer. You would think he would really excel in a debate. And like Tom, I was worried too that Joni was going to struggle in those debates. I was really concerned about that, but she took it to him in 2 of the 3 debates, and it hurt Braley not having an opponent. They if nothing else, some token opposition. This method that the Democrats are using of clearing the field for their candidates, it's a bad idea.
Well, Kevin, when I saw those early debates, I was afraid that Branstad's early support of hers was misplaced. I thought that she couldn't stand up under the heat of Braley. I was wrong. She did very, very well.
Extremely well.
Tom Coates is my co-host. It's Max World on this Tuesday, the 11th day of the 11th month of the 2014 century. This is Veterans Day, and if you served in any way, shape, or form, including the family member, the support system of someone who served in as long as we've had, to fight wars in this country, thank you. Thank you for putting it all on the line so we can sit here and talk like we're talking today.
Amen.
We're coming back live here on Max World. Hey, psst. Let me let you in on a little secret. You ready? Always try to do business with people, not places. Especially if you seek honest Christian business people. And when it comes to my car, I really need to trust who's working on it. Now, my family is so blessed. A few years ago, we found a family-owned automobile repair shop that operates as a Christian business also. Open, honest, reliable, trustworthy. It's AMCO on Hickman Road in front of Kmart, and it's a family-owned Christian operating business. This family treats your car as if it was their car. Everything from oil changes to transmission repair and everything in between. So the next time you feel the need to be at peace with your choice of who you can trust with your car, give AMCO on Hickman a chance to serve you. And tell them Max sent you.
Get away from my Sumito credit card. We don't have any more money. We're in trouble now. Save us! Help! Somebody save us! Somebody help! Help! Save us!
Hi, I'm Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of Des Moines. If your credit card's a little too animated, give us a call.
Hooray! We're saved! Consumer Credit, you're our hero!
Metro Ford's on everywhere. Metro Ford's on everywhere. See 'em here, see 'em there. You got bad credit? We don't care. Metro Ford's on everywhere. Metro Ford's on everywhere.
Visit emetroford.com for your guaranteed credit approval. Good credit, bad credit, no credit. Everybody drives with guaranteed credit approval at emetroford.com.
Metro Ford's on everywhere.
Visit emetroford.com today.
All right, we're back 10 before the top. Kevin Hall from the IowaRepublican.com and Doug Gross, kingmaker here in Iowa, former chief of staff of Governor Branstad. I mean that as a compliment.
Okay.
I don't mean that. I mean, you if you're going to run for office in the state of Iowa on the conservative ticket, you've got to talk to Doug Gross.
I think they should talk to Mac.
Yeah, right. I got so much to offer.
You got a microphone.
Right now, everybody's taking a breather in the presidential election. But we have to remember in the state of Iowa, we have a caucus in less than 14 months. And the what do I want to call it? The nucleus will be the Iowa State Fair. And we're 10 months away from that. So don't you think we're going to start seeing all these Republican and Democratic candidates start showing up in the state of Iowa, or have we already?
Mac, we have already. They all came in October.
Okay.
Every single one of you. You had Chris Christie. You had Rick Santorum, Rick Perry. Rand Paul was here. Jindal was here.
Huckabee.
Yeah, Huckabee campaigned with Joni Ernst. I mean, they've already been here. Ben
Okay.
Carson is coming later on this month.
Hillary was here. Warren was here.
Yeah.
Now, we talked earlier that the the Democratic candidate may just, crown Miss Hillary as their only candidate.
I hope Biden runs.
Oh, I was just going to ask about Biden.
He won't.
What about Biden?
I hope he does, just for comic relief purposes. I don't think he will, though.
Yeah,
I mean, especially if the national mood, the anti-Obama mood stays the way it is. Even Joe Biden isn't dumb enough to think he could win in that type of situation. But I certainly hope he does.
And does Hillary get Obama out there on the campaign trail for her?
No.
No.
He's
In
that
fact,
poison.
Yeah.
Let's
none of the Senate candidates wanted him or congressional candidates wanted him this time. Yes, he's very poisonous. I mean, this Republican wave that we just had, in large part, was a rebuke of President Obama's policies. It was a referendum, and
I totally agree.
And he killed them by saying all my policies are on the ballot. It was the worst possible thing he could have said.
Which is one of the challenges, by the way, we face because the election was about anti-Obama. It wasn't for us, or it wasn't about something positive that we wanted to do. It's just against things that the president wanted to do. Now our challenge is to lay out an agenda that is conservative and one that can attract followers so we can govern.
Where's Newt Gingrich when we need him?
But where's the agenda? What would your advice be for the 3 or 4 points that we need to be pushing to make sure we take full advantage of this opportunity that's been given us?
Well, I liked what I saw in the Boehner and the McConnell letter to the Wall Street Journal last week, where they talked about a 5-point agenda that included everything. I think it included tax reform, which I think we should do.
Absolutely.
I think we have an opportunity to do tax reform in a big way, and the country needs that. And I think there's a decent chance Obama will cut a deal with us on that so we can get something done. I think that's big.
I didn't see the article or the ad. Tell me none of it was social issues.
I don't think there was anything.
I doubt they
probably
would.
I really hope we're done with that stuff.
I don't think it was.
Securing the border, I presume, is one of those points. They had to
recall
talk
exactly
about immigration.
what all 5 were, Kevin?
I don't.
I know tax reform was on there. Trade was on there. Repealing Obamacare is on there, which I think we need to do.
Securing the border,
full repeal.
Securing the border should be on there, and it should, frankly, it should just be a 1-page bill. Secure the border by any means necessary.
Well, they've already had the vote. They just didn't fund it.
You do that, and then you can talk about comprehensive immigration reform.
Well, the vote was taken.
It
was passed, guys. I mean, under Bush, we were supposed to put up a fence, and they just never funded it, right?
Well, the issue for us is, can we stay united as a party when we have an agenda, a positive agenda, or will we splinter? And immigration is a tough issue for Republicans. So they're business-oriented people in the Republican Party that want comprehensive reform. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce spent $1 zillion on Republican candidates. That's what they want. But when you go out and you go to a Republican group in Iowa, or really anywhere, and you talk about you want comprehensive immigration reform, they'll hoot you off the stage.
Yep.
That's a tough issue for Republicans.
Well, but you know, we got a greater percentage of the Latino vote. 36 this time versus 30%.
We did.
2 years earlier. I don't. Again, it may just be against Obama, and I know he's promising them amnesty. But
he's, he hasn't delivered for anybody.
No.
And what he's going to do with this executive order too, I think, is going to play a key role.
And that's what I'm concerned about, because he issues that executive order, he polarizes everything, and it may we get nothing done over the next 2 years if he does that. And that's too bad for the country, frankly, because at the end of the day, that's what we care about. That's what everybody fought for. That's why we're honoring veterans, because we love our country. And there's some things we got to do. And we've got to reform our taxes. We can't continue to let all our capital leave our country.
Absolutely. Doug Gross and Kevin Hall in the House. One last question. What will be Branstad? Well, I'm going to ask Obama and Branstad. So since we're talking about Obama, what will Obama's legacy be?
Worst president ever. Worse than Jimmy Carter.
First black president.
That'll okay. What about Branstad? Let's come back home for a minute. This is a guy who will serve longer in the governorship in the state of Iowa than any other governor ever. One of the longest in the nation. He's still fairly young enough. I mean, look at Bob Ray. What's 93?
No, he's 86.
86. He just looks 93.
No.
What is going to be Branstad's legacy?
Well, when you say about the longest serving, it reminds me of something when Bob Ray left office. At that point, he was the longest serving governor in Iowa history. And I remember Chuck Grassley, who had just elected senator, got up and made this speech, and he said he was going to introduce Governor Ray. He said, "I'm pleased here to introduce the longest governor in Iowa history."
The longest governor.
Anyway, I think Branstad's, if in one phrase, would be a tireless advocate for the state of Iowa.
Okay.
I agree. Somebody who absolutely loved this state and worked harder than any governor in history. Of course, he'll go down as the longest-serving governor in the history of the U.S.
Let me ask a quick question before we get off the air. Does Branstad and his people not want to take over the Iowa Senate? Do we just not want that? Do we want some opposition?
No.
Why is it we can't seem to get that last link in?
I think we did take our eye off the ball in regards to the Iowa Senate. We didn't place a huge priority on it this year. I can assure you, Governor Branstad wanted to get the majority in the Iowa Senate. I've been, when I worked on his campaign in 2010, I was driving the RV, and he was back there on the phone recruiting candidates to run for the Iowa Senate. He wants a Republican Iowa Senate.
Well, we all do, but it was,
yeah.
frankly, I think political malpractice that we didn't take the Iowa Senate. When you have a wave year,
Yeah.
and you only effectively play in 4 races. When you have a wave year, you want to be playing as many races as you possibly can. We only played in 4, and 2 were holdovers, and 2 were takeaways, and we just didn't give us enough chance to win.
And Democrats have been better at recruiting candidates than Republicans have for both the House and the Senate.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
What impact will a terrorist attack on United States soil, and I mean it could even be just a car bomb, it could be local, not necessarily from the air, what impact would that have on the presidential race?
Well, I mean, one thing we tend to forget, and a lot of people like to criticize George W. Bush, but after 9/11, they didn't attack us again.
Right.
Okay. I mean, he made it clear that we were going to secure ourselves.
He stepped up decisively, though. I have not seen Obama step up decisively on
Obama
any
is
of this
weak.
stuff.
So my view on it is it helps Republicans win. I don't like to look at it in political terms. Mac is, God forbid that happens, but it'll help Republicans.
Yeah, I agree. It'd be devastating for the Democrats if that happened.
Kevin, thank you as always. Appreciate you being here. Doug, it's
Matt,
always
good to
great
be with
to
you.
have you here. Tom, thanks for sitting in. Ryan, thanks for producing. I'm J. Michael McCoy, and I love this job. Thanks for listening so I can do this job. Until we see each other again, do me a favor. Think of someone you don't get along with very well. Think of someone that you have a resentment against. And tonight, turn that over to Jesus and just forgive, okay? Be the example of what forgiveness is.